All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Hope you all having a good day so far. So, I had a request to check this video out a while back, actually, and this was from the members section. This is coming from the Byron Scott's Fast Break podcast, and this one's titled "Why NBA Stars Can't Stay Healthy. Gary Vitti Solves the Injury Epidemic." And I gotta tell you guys the truth. I think I watched this. This is about 6 months old. I think I watched this whole segment, like this whole podcast with Gary Vitti. I'll be able to tell you once we get into this, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I watched this because I think I've actually quoted some of the things that Gary Vitti says here as to why players are getting way more injured nowadays than they were back in the day, especially involving their ankles and their Achilles. So, anyways, I'll just leave it at that for now. This is very interesting, if it is what I think it is. And thank you for the request to do this. Also, last thing I'll say is I watch this podcast very often. So if you ever hear me quoting Byron Scott, 99% chance it's from this podcast, because he tells a lot of cool stories, especially about those Laker days. So anyways, you guys, I'm going to link the original video for Byron Scott's podcast down below in the description, like I always do. You'll also see a list of channel members. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate you all. I say let's get right into this. Let's get our learn on, because we all have our opinions on this. And I think you'll find that most of our opinions line up with a professional veteran when it comes to training. So let's see.
Me to transition from your perspective, because you did this for so many years, when you first started as a trainer to how training is done now today. And you've only been retired for 9 years. So you got a chance to witness how it was when you first started compared to how it was when you left.
By the way, he used to be a trainer for the Lakers. One very famous clip you guys might recognize is when Kobe Bryant, he has his finger dislocated, his thumb dislocated. He goes to the sideline, asks his trainer to pop it back into place, and goes back in the game. That's Gary Vitti.
You just heard me when you gave me the mic. You sure you want to go down this rabbit hole with me? 'Cause you're not going to get another word in for a while.
Well, Gary, do us a favor. Okay. We do want to ask you some questions.
We do have a few questions.
So give us the short version so we can ask you some questions.
Right, well, let's put it this way. When Kobe retired in 2016, I can make an argument. You were the head coach.
Yes.
I can make an argument that he was the best player with his back to the basket in the league at the time.
Agreed.
He would not be able to play the game the way he played it in 2016. And that was just 9 years ago.
You mean he wouldn't be able to play it today like he played then?
Yes.
But we both know that he would adapt anyway.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I'm saying the way he played it, he would have killed you a different way.
Yeah.
And that's sad to see nowadays, by the way. The post game is all but eliminated.
All right. Yeah. But he would have killed you.
Yeah.
Okay. He would have figured it out.
Yeah.
Okay. He would have figured it out before they figured it out.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, he would.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and this is a lot of what you're talking about with the way.
Ironically enough, just because they kind of harped on it for a second, Kobe started out his career as an ISO type of player. Perimeter, ISO, do what he's got to do. He emerged into, one of the greatest post players of all time, in my opinion. But that was the second half of his career.
The training is, and the running and how the game is played has a lot to do with why are there so many injuries, because I'm getting those calls all the time. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I'll try not to go all the way down the rabbit hole, but let's just talk a few things about what we do know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What we hear a lot is too many games, too much basketball at a young age, and that is absolutely true, but maybe not explained the way it should be explained.
Okay.
So what we do know about the human body, and this is well documented in the research, is that repetitive movement causes compensation, and the compensation causes dysfunction. In terms of basketball, the game is played between here and here, what we call the core. I'm going to ask you a question. Who's a player that you know that played over 20 years that was doing core work before we even talked about core and never got hurt?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
That's right. He was doing yoga.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And he started.
So Kareem was doing martial arts and yoga. Okay. Damn, man. And yeah, and it's true. No wonder why he had such a long career.
Talking to me. He didn't use the word core. He just said the game's played between here. And I started listening to him. Okay? And he's right. Okay. Now,
I mean, he might have learned some core strength stuff from, as silly as it sounds, from Bruce Lee, because he was training with Bruce Lee for quite a while. Even did a movie with him. So I wonder if any of that core strength, without maybe calling it, because we didn't have that terminology, maybe he was always working on that core strength to begin with. Very interested. Real quick. Nobody seems to ask Kareem about Bruce Lee. He rarely gets to talk about Bruce Lee. No one ever asked him in interviews. I've only seen him talk about it once or twice.
May not have known what we know today about what he was doing, but when you look back on it, the man was a pioneer. Okay? I mean, he sprained his ankle, he broke his hand, but the guy never pulled a muscle or anything like that.
You're right.
So the game is so much faster and so much more powerful. Where is all that coming from? It's coming from their hips. And it's all about the hips. So these hip flexors get really, really tight. They start to rotate your pelvis forward. That starts to really pull on your hamstring, because your hamstring attaches underneath your pelvis and then crosses your knee joint.
I did not know that. Okay.
It shuts off the neural drive to your glute. So now, because your glute shut off, your hamstring's doing more work, that becomes prone. Your adductor muscles, which are your groin muscles, they attach underneath your pelvis. So they're working harder. Okay? So now, if you don't have a strong core, all this it's all about generating force from your lower extremity through your pelvis to your upper extremity. And we call that the kinetic chain. So if you hit a link in the chain that can't handle the load, okay, that's where it's going to fail. And it starts at the heel strike. So it could be your Achilles tendon. It could be your plantar fascia in your foot. It could be your Achilles tendon. It could be your calf. Okay. It could be your hip. It could be your back. It could be your neck. Okay. It goes all the way up kinetic chain. So going back to what we said about playing too much basketball, when we were kids, and I was a kid before you were a kid, but you experienced this. Yeah, I'm older than you.
This is what old heads do, by the way.
I think when I came in,
even if you're 6 months older than somebody,
there was Kareem, McAdoo, and Jamal Wilkes were the only three guys older than me. Everybody else was younger than me. And then by the time I graduated, I could have been these kids' grandfather. Okay? That was Kobe's joke with me, is that I watched him grow up and he watched me grow old. I had 20 years. Facts. I got him at 17.
Facts. Yeah, it's a fact.
So these kids, when we were young, going back to this, we played, especially if you were from the East Coast or cold, Midwest, anywhere where there was cold weather, you played football in the fall. Then it got too cold, so you went inside and played basketball. Then it warmed up in the spring, and you went back outside and played baseball. As a result, you were a three-sport athlete. What were you doing? You were cross-training. The word didn't exist.
Right.
Okay, that's true. We used to do that too, tell you the truth. I wasn't always just playing basketball. I'd play football, I'd play baseball, and we would actually follow what we did here in Arizona, at least. We'd follow the professional schedules usually. So basketball season, we were playing basketball. Football season, we'd start playing football, etc. But Yeah, we even if it was 110 degrees outside, guys, we were still outside playing. That's just the way it was back then. I don't see kids doing that nowadays, but in the 80s, that's what we were doing. We'd play no matter what.
No, that's what we were doing, but that's what we were doing. So you weren't doing the repetitive motion over and over. So now you're 7 years old. You might be good in several sports.
Okay, so big point he's getting at with this section, from what I'm understanding, is instead of a variety of exercises and workouts that we used to do just naturally, these kids are being found from a young age and directly trained just for basketball from a very young age. So it does make sense. By the time that they get to the NBA, these muscles are starting to wear thin. These tissue are starting to wear thin because we're not doing anything else to challenge the body at that point. We're not shaking things up, in other words. It's very interesting, too. I wouldn't have thought about this.
You really are shining in one sport, whatever it is. Doesn't necessarily have to be basketball, because we're not the only sport that people are getting hurt and doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again at 7 years old.
By the way, I hear this happens with a lot of gymnasts as well, because they are found from a very young age too, and they're repeating year after year after year, doing the same types of things. And I hear it can lead to a lot of like permanent injuries, you know, like from a young age. And you know, basically they're stuck with these injuries for the majority for the rest of their lives. But it sounds like it's probably because of the same reasons.
So by the time I get you, you've developed these postural and movement dysfunctional patterns that it's almost impossible for us to get you out of it completely. We can get you out of it for a period of time. Once again, we'll release the hip flexor, stretch the hip flexor, stretch the hamstring, activate the glute. Now we have you in pelvic neutral. Now we're going to put you out on the court. Now what we're looking at as your movement is your movement efficiency. Okay? How well are you moving through space in an uncontrolled manner? Because when we're doing it in the gym, we're doing it in the performance laboratory with force plates and all that, it's still controlled. But now you're on the court and there's somebody in front of you. I laugh when I see some of these drills where you take a basketball and you dribble a ball. They're looking for peak acceleration. So you're dribbling a ball in a straight line, 90 feet from baseline to baseline. When have you ever done that?
Yeah, no straight line in basketball.
It's all about diagonal movement.
Absolutely.
Which now
we used to call it coast to coast, because that's fast break. That's what everybody's doing. Zigzag.
Go to something else that we do know. Okay? I've already told you some stuff. You're with me so far, right?
Yeah. I don't know about you guys. This is fascinating for me. This is really cool to hear it out of the horse's mouth. Such a professional, such a veteran.
Which I hope our audience is with you.
I'm with you. I'm with you guys. Yeah.
I don't know if I can make it.
Well, put it this way: all of you out there that want to be trainers, this should be something that you really pay attention to, because he's really breaking it down on some of the main reasons that we're having some of the injuries that we're having in the NBA today.
Yep.
Okay, so make sure you save this.
And that's why it's so exactly, Byron. That's why this is important, 100%. Because we talk about this, I talk about this a lot, you know, and you guys talk about this a lot in the comments too. This is a huge issue right now. So to get some inside information is great, you know. We've heard a lot from the players about the lack of scrimmaging and just straight up training, and now we're hearing it from a trainer himself. So, you know, these are the people I want to be listening to.
One of the kickers. Okay, I just mentioned peak acceleration. There's been a trend for a long, long time: bigger, faster, stronger, and they have achieved it. These guys are flying up and down the floor. They are strong. When you look at them, they are specimens.
Yeah, no, I agree.
When you watch them run, they can fly. But what we're not looking at as a whole, I mean, I'm sure some people are, but I'm out of it, okay? But what is their movement efficiency? I already know they can run fast.
Right.
I already know that they're the fastest, strongest basketball players in the world. How are they carrying their center of gravity as they're moving through space in an uncontrolled manner? And here's where the rubber really meets the road. Something else that we know, the two things the body doesn't like is slowing down and turning, torque. If you were accelerating continuously, you just ran as fast as you could in a straight line, probably never going to get hurt. It's when you try to slow down.
Okay, real quick, because I watched a lot of stuff on Tim Grover, who was Michael Jordan's trainer. He also worked with Barkley during his prime, and then Kobe Bryant and Dwayne Wade, I believe, as well. Anyways, he's notoriously famous because of Jordan and Kobe. He said that was the main thing he had to start with Jordan. Not teaching him his first step in his burst of energy, that was fine. No need to work there. But slowing down, Jordan only had one speed back then, and he would just launch. But it was the slowing down. He wanted to count how many steps. How is Jordan slowing down? How many steps on the left? How many steps on the right in order to slow down? Very intriguing stuff you would have never really thought of. But I guess it does make sense. This is how a lot of people get injured, is in the slowdown period.
When you look at Michael Jordan,
there we go,
flying down the floor, taking off at the free throw line. We were mesmerized.
Yeah.
I feel like I can fly. And before him, Dr. J. Right? Trust me when I tell you, it looks like they are accelerating all the way through that moment that they leave the floor. They didn't. Right before they jumped, they were slowing down. You might not be able to see it with a naked eye, but with high-speed cameras and sensors, we can see that.
Right.
So when you're trying to slow down, these muscles are lengthening under great tension, more tension than when the muscles are shortening when you're running in a straight line. They're shortening, okay? Now
and it makes sense, too, by the way. I'll back this up about 10. Anybody who's ever dunked, or, a layup, that final step or two is always a plant slowdown. You know what I mean? So no one's just running right through the brick wall after they shoot a layup or a dunk. You know what I mean? You have to slow down, and that final step is always the one to do it. So that being the point of where most people are going to get injured makes a lot of sense to me. And then also it's a similar type of movement with these step backs, the way I see it, because that's not a natural. It's not a natural movement for your legs, your lower legs, in my opinion. Like your calf, your ankle, your ACL, all that stuff. Like, I think that's what's causing, me personally, I think that's what's causing a lot more too, because it's kind of simulating that sudden stop, but you're doing it on one leg as well. So it's multiplying the amount of times the body is going through that stopping motion in a single game. That's the way I'm seeing it, based on what Gary is saying here, at least. All right, I backed it up about 10 seconds. I'll let the pro talk.
Tension. More tension than when the muscles are shortening when you're running in a straight line. They're shortening, okay? Now they're lengthening under great tension. And if they can't handle the load, wherever that load is at that moment, if that link in the kinetic chain can't handle the load, it's going to fail. And that's where you're going to get hurt, right? And it's kind of that simple. Now you add in the turning, torque, twisting, okay? Now you're really putting yourself in harm's way, because that's how we tear ACLs. Okay? That's how we tear meniscus in your knee. You don't tear a meniscus by running in a straight line. You tear it when you plant your foot and turn. Okay? And so yes, it is about playing too much basketball, but probably not so much as playing so much and not having recovery time.
I cannot tell you, I can't remember what led to my meniscus tear when I had it. I can't. I could tell you what led to my calf tear, but that was just overuse in a short period of time. I pushed it way too far. Meniscus came naturally, though. I think I was just working, and I probably did turn a corner at work because I was probably in a rush, and it was probably something so simple like that.
It's playing so much that you've developed these postural and movement dysfunctional patterns, okay? So that your movement efficiency isn't good. We get you out of it. We get you in neutral. You start the game. You're doing pretty well. Now you're starting to fatigue. Once you do, you go back into that default pattern. You'll see the guys at the free throw line holding their shorts. Mm-hmm. Okay,
tired.
Yes, because they don't have the core strength. Okay. To keep themselves, okay, their center of gravity. Okay, now
interesting.
I should get a T-shirt. Okay,
I was guilty of that too, but I don't know how much it was because I needed to, or I was just I used I was emulating Michael Jordan, and Jordan every time he was getting a breather, he was always grabbing onto the bottom of his shorts and kneeling forward, but I didn't think that's a sign of weak core strength. Not being able to support it. This is a very interesting interview.
So you should have coined the phrase 3 repeat. Ryall stole that from you.
3P.
He shortened it to 3P. Yeah. You lost a lot of money on that one. But you stole
why you want to bring that up?
You stole enough money other places. Made up for it.
So you talking about it came out even?
But listen to this. We call it core strength because it sounds good.
Right.
Strength is your ability to generate force. Power is how fast can you generate it. Mm-hmm. Endurance is how long can you generate it. We really should call it core endurance.
Yeah,
because
how much can
you
handle?
The longer you can control your center of gravity with your core, the least likely you'll get hurt as you're moving through space in these uncontrolled manners. That's why all these people that, for whatever their reasons are, sitting in front of desk or playing golf, too much tennis, too much swimming, whatever the cause.
Interesting. First of all, link is down below for the podcast if you guys want to check it out. Highly recommend this as a channel you're subscribing to. Interesting what he said at the end there, huh? So he's talking about like guys with a secondary sport or a secondary hobby, and that being a very healthy thing. So when we used to make fun of Jordan for playing golf every day, that was actually helping his body probably. As far as, I don't want to say as far as like longevity, that probably didn't work in his favor that way. But as far as keeping himself healthy, we always ask, how come Jordan can play all 82? Maybe golf played into this, like he said, other people, they can do like Pilates or yoga, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had yoga and martial arts he was doing, so he was always challenging his body in new ways. So basketball, yeah. I mean, Gary's right. He broke a couple bones. When was he tearing muscles? He wasn't, huh? And that's crazy for a guy his size to play as long and as hard as Kareem played. He didn't have any knee tears, calf tears, ankle tear, he wasn't tearing. It's incredible. And same with Jordan. How is he doing the things that he was doing on the court every single day and not tearing some muscles? I guess, hey, keep a variety, you guys. I'm glad I rewatched this because I didn't remember half of this apparently. Or maybe I actually didn't watch this to begin with. But either way, it sounds like the main takeaway from this is core strength, which is really like core durability, and basically don't just repeat the same type of workouts over and over and over again. You got to constantly challenge your body. That way things don't tear, things don't break down. Good to know. Because tell you the truth, last time I was getting in real legit shape, I was repeating over and over and over, and I did it in a short period of time, and then immediately I tore. It was the worst muscle tear of my life. That calf tear was brutal. Put me on my ass for weeks. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna head out. Hope you guys found this as interesting as I did. I always love learning from like the professionals like this. Yeah, I mean, I think they said it in the beginning. I think he did this for like 20 years. So he's the guy. He's that guy. Anyways, guys, I am out of here. Like the vid on the way out if you could. Hit that subscribe if you want more content like this. And most importantly, it's to be water, my friends. Peace out.